Welcome to a special edition of the W.S. Holland Show. Hi, everybody. I'm Ron Haney. Today marks the 59th anniversary of the famous $1 Million Quartet recording session that took place in Memphis, Tennessee at Sun Records on December the 4th, 1956. In town that day to record was Carl Perkins, his two brothers, J.B. and Clayton, along with drummer W.S. Holland, to record their song Matchbox. I've got a very special guest on the phone right now. Let's find out more about that original $1 Million Quartet session. On the phone with me right now is the one and only W.S. Fluke Holland. W.S., does it seem like it's been 59 years since the $1 Million Quartet session took place?
You know, Ron, I had actually forgot about it, and it is amazing how quick time passes. How many years has it been?
59, 1956 on December the 4th.
59 years.
59 years
it seemed
ago
like
today.
We did it last week.
Well, time has a way of doing that as we get on through with it. It seems like it was only yesterday. But what I want to do is go back and get from your perspective a little bit. Let's talk about the $1 Million Quartet session that happened at Sun Records, and you were at the time working with Carl Perkins. How did that thing come about?
The thing that made the $1 Million Quartet session so famous is what happened after we got going. The reason we were there, Sam Phillips had booked us being Carl and Clayton and J.B. and myself, Carl Perkins and his band, into the studio to record the next release after Blue Suede Shoes.
Right.
Blue Suede Shoes was recorded a year before and came out the beginning of 56, and then he was getting ready to release the next release, and it was a song called Matchbox. In the middle of the session, there was something strange happened. Of course, the first strange thing that happened, Sam hired Jerry Lee Lewis to play piano with us.
Right.
And he figured maybe that'd spice up the record a little bit. And in the middle of the session, Johnny Cash and Elvis Presley walked in. And when they walked in, of course, they heard we were in town, and they came by just to say hello and how y'all doing, because we'd met the year before, and we'd all toured together around Memphis and over in Arkansas and a few little places,
Sure.
And that's where we met. And they just heard we was in town and dropped by to say hello, and when we did, of course, it turned into a jam session. Elvis sat down at the piano, and they just started singing songs that it wasn't nothing anybody had planned, and we didn't know what they was going to do. So when somebody started singing, we just start playing. And there's two things that made it happen and become famous later. One thing is Jack Clement. He didn't think anything about it. And when they started the session, he decided he'd go next door to the Taylor Cafe and get him a sandwich. And he turned on the recorders, the big reel-to-reel recorders, and just let them run.
Yeah.
Now, Sam Phillips did think to call a photographer and make the picture. Now, we went ahead and done whatever we was going to do, and the session was over. Nobody thought anything about it, but they did name it the $1 Million Quartet session. Then later, when the boys did become big stars, some things began to happen. After Elvis had gone to RCA, they wanted to release some things. All kind of discussions started, who was singing this and who was singing that. But what made it a real big deal is when a boy named John Cassette wanted to do a Broadway play about it, and he did. And when he did the Broadway play, then it became really a big, big deal.
But now, looking back, I know there's been people that have asked you, too, what was it like being in the studio with those big superstars that night? So I'll ask you the same question.
I didn't think anything about it. Nobody thought anything about it. It's, when the boys dropped by and left, we finished the session, and people asked me, like you say, what was it like to be in the studio with all those big stars? And I said, hey, I wasn't in the studio with any big stars that night, and I didn't realize that anybody would ever be a real big star And what was happening, though, that it was the time that Sam Phillips was having to keep time and pay union scale for a session.
Okay.
And union scale was $11. And I was just concerned about getting my $11. But nobody thought anything about it. Yeah. They had when they made the Broadway play, they had to add a lot of stuff to it to make it really, really, really good. It's amazing what a good job they did putting that together. I've been to, I guess 25 or 30 of them, working with a company called Cambria that builds countertops, and they'll schedule a dealer event at some of the places, and we'll go and go to the $1 Million Quartet, and I've really enjoyed that. But back to anybody really realizing anything happened back then that would ever happen, nobody thought about it that day. But I am so glad things did happen. And then this many years later, when you write the release that we got out, it's amazing to even think about it now, for something that nobody thought anything about or didn't think anything would happen with it.
Well, as I've heard you say before, that probably turned into be one of the most famous recording sessions of all time, and because of the people that were involved in it, and of course you were there with Carl Perkins, and so it was just really kind of a neat thing that you guys all got to be a part of that, and to really further secure your place in music history. I know that's probably pretty exciting for you.
Well, I kind of make a joke out of it when people are asking me about it now. And when I tell about it, nobody thought anything about it. But like I say, Sam did think and called a photographer and made the famous picture of the boy sitting at the piano, or Elvis sitting at the piano, and Jerry Lee and Carl and John just around him. Now, I all kind of kidded Sam later when it did become famous. I said, Sam, man, if you'd have just really been thinking about what you were doing, you'd have had that photographer to pan over about 3 feet. I would have been in that picture, then it really would have been famous. and every time I've told that story, somebody laughs.
Well,
I don't know if they laugh because they think, yeah, it might have been more famous, or yeah, it would have been ridiculous if you'd have been in it. But anyway, I enjoy telling the story.
That was a famous session, and of course, John and Elvis and Jerry Lee and Carl went on to become big superstars all over the world, and still are today. And of course, you went on to play a few more years with Carl Perkins, and then in 1960 went to work with Johnny Cash. John passed away in 2003. I'll ask you this. Do you remember the last time that you saw and talked with Johnny Cash?
Oh, yeah. One of the last times I met with him, Joyce and I was going up to her brother's place. It had a furniture store, and we dropped by to see him, and I couldn't believe he really wasn't in real good shape. But we talked for a while, and we had a guitar that he gave Joyce 2 or 3 years before that, and she said, man, I wish I'd have brought that guitar and let you autograph it. And he said, well, bring it back by. I'll be glad to. And we was planning on coming by and see him again and bring that guitar. And he was scheduled to go to New York for some kind of award thing up there. And he didn't get to go do the award thing. He got the feeling so bad. And we didn't get a chance to go by and see him anymore. But that was the last time I saw him. You think about things like that, and you say, man, if I'd have known this, I'd have done this. But we never know.
Well, WS, I want to thank you for taking time to share your special memories of the $1 Million Quartet session with us. And as we close the show out, I think it would be very appropriate to play our version of $1 Million Memories that you do so well. Thanks for being here. I'm Ron Haney, and we'll see you next time on the W.S. Holland Show.
It was a cold Memphis December back in 1956 at Sun Records on Union Avenue. 706. I was drumming for Carl Perkins. The whole band was in town to record a song called Matchbox and lay all the tracks down. Sam Phillips hired Jerry Lee Lewis to spice up the record that day. But before we could get things rolling, the session went a different way. Johnny Cash heard we were in town. He dropped by to say hello. And the next thing we knew, Elvis Presley walked through the door.
It all just seemed to happen. It was just as strange to me. Now it's all become a part of rock and roll history.
I've played this whole world over, seen almost all there is to see. But I wouldn't take $1 million for my $1 million memories. Just like what happens with most musicians, a jam session broke out that day. The boys sang songs from their childhoods of hard work, love, and faith. History calls that jam session the most famous one of all, because the world was changed by the music of John and Elvis, Jerry Lee, and Carl. Now late at night at Sun Records, if you peek in through the glass, you might just hear the music of sessions from the past. Some even say if you listen closely, you can almost bet you can hear the familiar voices of the $1 Million Quartet.
It all just seemed to happen. It was just as strange to me. Now it's all become a part of rock and roll history.
I've played this whole world over, seen almost all there is to see. But I wouldn't take $1 million for my $1 million memories.
$1 million memories.